Hello, everybody. It's so good to be back with the whole fam. We're all
Woo.
here tonight. We have the lovely McKenna back with us, and
Hello.
Celeste and Susie. So we're all together and we're all here for you. And we're excited because we get a paranormal topic tonight, right?
Yes, yes. And this one I had so much fun researching. And it's basically so it's a story, it's a good long story, and it's all from a first-hand accounting. So this is like part three of our series Swipe Right if 9 feet or taller. So we're just covering I XL, extra large size cryptids, super size cryptids. So giants, Sasquatch, anything that's, you know, larger in size. So this one was a lot of fun to research. So it happened in Mount Rainier, Oregon. And it was like basically a 4 year span that these encounters were happening. And this story that I heard was from the account of a man named Wade, who had moved to this area as a child with his family. So Wade was one of, well, so there's some of the language he uses is a little bit confusing, but he says he was one of many children in his family. He was the youngest. There were two boys, and then it's either three or four girls. That wasn't completely clear. Um, but he was the youngest. His brother was the oldest, and then the girls were all in the middle. So they moved to Rainier, Oregon from Southern California, uh, like around 1972. His father was a pipe fitter, and he was hired on to work on the Trojan nuclear plant. So it started. So that the nuclear plant is shut down now. Like it's no longer running, but it was the project started. The build for it started in 1970, and then ended in 76 is when it like actually was like operable when they opened it up and started producing energy. But the family, all the accounts say that they had 4 years of these encounters in this area. So you assume it's about 1972 when they moved there. And they stayed there until the project was finished. So they moved to this area. They purchased property. It was quite a bit of land. Um, and that had this dilapidated like single wide on it. The family planned to like upgrade later, but they moved in, and they immediately started having like encounters with the creatures. A lot of the times Wade refers to them as like animals, but he makes like very distinct, like he refers to them as animals, but he makes very distinct, like these things were not animals. Like, yes, they were extinctual, but like they were also emotional creatures. They were bipedal, so they walked on two legs, um, covered in hair. So very much, he described them in great detail because there were multiple encounters with these creatures. But he described them as being like what we would know as like a Sasquatch or a Yeti type creature. So bipedal, two legs, covered in
Yeah.
hair. But essentially, they started having encounters like right away. So they moved into this dilapidated single wide, and they started to like clean it up, and they started to clean up the outside of it, and they noticed that it had like dents in it because they're generally like metal siding. It had like dents as if like there had been just big welts hammered all over the outside of the single wide, like hail had come in sideways, but it would have been like basketball sized hail that had just ruined the outside of this trailer. And so that was kind of like their first hint, like, oh man, like, man, the people really like didn't take care of this stuff. There was vandals or whatever. And like they initially thought when weird things started to happen that it was their neighbors. They lived kind of outside of town, there was quite a bit of land that they were living on, but they did have neighbors, and they really weren't that far from the town of Rainier in Oregon. Um,
It's Oregon, not Washington.
it's Oregon. I know.
I know.
And
You confirmed me when you say that. So
yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, it was
So today
Oregon for
we
sure.
just say it's meth. but you know,
So I did look it up on a couple different maps. So I have the Onyx hunting app, and that like allows you to like see like what's government land, what's like owned, like personal property and stuff like that. And I actually found like the area where these people lived, and it's only like a mile and a quarter, like outside of the town of Rainier. And the town actually is right next to the Columbia River in Oregon. Like it's a huge river runs through Oregon, and it's right there.
yeah.
And it's kind of crazy how these encounters happen so close to like a decent town. It was a smaller town, but and I'm sure it was even smaller in the 70s, but because I'm only seeing, satellite images on my phone now. Uh, but they started to get encounters almost immediately. And it wasn't very long, he says, before they realized that it was not human, because these creatures they weren't afraid. They were not afraid of people. They weren't shy. They came out in the daytime, they came out in the nighttime, and they came right up to the single wide and would look through their windows, day or night.
Creepy.
The entire family saw these creatures multiple times. There was separate accountings all together, and they could tell with absolute certainty that the creatures they were being stalked by were a family of four. Um, so and like the whole family like talks about it. Like he had talked about it with his older brother. I mean, not so much with like the sisters. The sisters were very frightened, but they would look out the window and see these giant faces looking at them, and they'd scream and they'd run out of the room. And the parents kind of tried to play it off like they're monkeys, they came from California, and they grew up in, also like they went to San Diego, and they went to the San Diego Zoo. And so they were like, oh, they're apes, they're monkeys, just trying to comfort their children. um, so Wade states that the first encounters are very non-threatening. The creatures just seemed curious. They were just observing, watching. Uh, so they described the four creatures, as there was one that was like the largest, described as about 10 feet tall. That was like the male. So he says that it was the large one, with large being an understatement. So, and then it was a separate accounting from like a Boilermaker, like later on, that was like, oh yeah, that's like 10 feet, 10 feet, and like about 1,000 pounds, or just under 1,000 pounds. Easy on the California remarks. San Diego. The zoo. Oh, someone was saying something about California.
So all of these creatures are being seen by all of these people, and no one's gotten pictures.
So, I mean, it was the 70s. So, I mean, I'm not sure.
But still, there's Kodak. I mean, there are cameras available. That's what kills
Right.
me about these things. It's like go down to the
Yeah.
drugstore and buy a camera and give it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And you know what's like even crazier, is that this entire town was aware of like these creatures. Uh, and the reason that like Wade and his family had become they had sort of become infamous in this town because they were not ignoring them. They, at a point later on, they were fighting back. And so there was a lot of conflict. Oh, that's awesome. Hello, Carrie from Tennessee.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. So the male essentially was huge. And then there was also what he describes as like a female. And he describes her as being about 8 feet tall, so a couple feet shorter than the male, but still gigantic. And like kind of like a boxy shape, like a squat. He describes her as looking like kind of chubby, like motherly, and like slightly lighter than the male is kind of like how he described her. And then there were two smaller, and like he does kind of explain later on that everyone assumed that they were a family of four, and this was like their two children. The two children were about the same height, roughly around 8 feet tall each. And one had brown hair covering its entire body, and the other one had like a cinnamon, like red brown hair. But other than that, they were pretty much like identical. And they were seen not just by this family, but by multiple people in this town. But this family and the people that they brought onto their property were the ones that fought them. So the family ended up building like another home. They got like a double wide that was nice and new, and it was like a little bit up the hill from like the single wide. And they had originally purchased this property because there were huge trees on it. They wanted to log the property. So they hired a lumber company to like come up and start harvesting the trees. And the workers, the dad offered, I believe his name was Dale, the father. He had offered that single wide for like the workers to live in. They could live in it for free because there were creatures harassing the family and everyone around the dang town. You're not paying rent to get harassed. So he's like, come work, you'll get paid, you can live for free, which sounds like a pretty sweet deal until you encounter Sasquatch.
Some staring into your bedroom window. Yeah.
Yeah, for real. It gets some really nice
Freaky.
curtains. Right. Yeah. So they sound like they wanted to be
Yeah.
social, but they were the way he describes them is a lot like children. Like they were curious. And they were they were never like violent, or they never like were like scary essentially on purpose, like to the children. I guess they were always very peaceful towards the children. But they reacted a lot in a very like adolescent way. They were emotional creatures, and they would like react in anger if there was something they didn't like. So, there's kind of like that base instinct, but you could tell that they like felt things and they reacted on them. So it was very, very interesting the way that he describes it.
Hendersons?
Huh?
Did you ever watch the movie Henry and the Hendersons?
Oh gosh, maybe when I was little.
I'm kind of wondering if this is kind of a story that based that movie on. I'm going to turn my volume up if you can't hear me. But yeah, so the movie was a very close for a Sasquatch. They moved in with the family.
Okay, you're cutting out a little bit. You're getting quite a bit of static, but yeah, so the premise essentially is like Sasquatch coming to live with the family. But yeah, no, they did not cohabitate very well, this family and the creatures there. So essentially like these creatures were very fascinated in the girls. So the girls in the family, it wasn't just like the big male, it was mostly the big male and like the female. They were very fixated on the girls. They wanted to watch the girls all the time. And these encounters weren't happening like every day, but like a few times a month. Like they were being startled, they were freaked out because they'd all be outside doing whatever. It's like a rural area, and all four of these girls, he says like four girls would come running in, but like he doesn't clarify whether it's three daughters and the mother or if it's four daughters. But they were the ones that were watched the most, stalked the most, basically all the time, and they were an emotional wreck. He says that the girls were not the same people by the time that they left that they were when they first moved there. They were traumatized from being by these creatures. But after about 2 years, so they were there for a total of 4 years. But after 2 years, the family had decided to send the girls to Kennewick, Washington. They needed to get out of there. Everyone was an emotional wreck. No one was sleeping, and like the mother had like heart problems. She had like a medical heart issue, and so her being freaked out all the time, having all this anxiety, was not good. So the family decided that the girls would leave, the boys would stay, because they had essentially put all of their money into this property to log it. He was working he was like a pipe fitter for the nuclear plant, but they essentially would have been like financially ruined if they had abandoned that property. So the boys stayed, and Wes at this time uh, was about 10 years old, I believe, or Wade. Wade, my bad. I said Wes, but it's Wade. Like Wade Wilson. But he says he was about 10 years old, and then his oldest brother was like teens, later teens, mid teens. But they stayed behind, the dad, the two brothers, and then the loggers and like other people that lived like on the property, other men, only men. Um, but I guess the creatures would like stand motionless, like a few feet, like outside of the tree line. They would come out of the tree line a few feet, and they would just stand there and like stare at people, stare at the girls mostly. So that was like the really creepy thing that they were like, all right, we're out, we're done. But they left, and it was about a month and a half to 2 months later that Dean, the father, decided to start retaliating against these creatures. So Wade describes his dad as a 5 foot tall Yosemite Sam lookalike. So not a huge man, but like you kind of like get the Sam Elliott vibes from him. Like he was a veteran Marine during the Korean War, and he was not the type of guy that you mess with. So it was he was mad. You know, he came up here to try and better his life, better his family, and they were tormented, and so he was PO'd, and he was ready to make some war on these creatures. Um, so after the girls had been relocated, the dad gathered the men living on the property and said, "I want these things aired out." Like those were his words. Let's air them out, get them the heck out of there. And it was extremely difficult. These creatures were very fast. Like they were huge and they were fast, and they just had that survival instinct. And they tried to like bait them out, lure them out, anything they could to kind of like get them out in the open so that they could be, taken out. All these guys were, they would hunt all the time, and they were like real like macho type men that lived on this property. And so they knew how to take care of business, and it was very frustrating for all of them because they could not get a shot at these creatures. Everything they tried, like nothing worked. And so they were like consistently evaded, but they were trying essentially to lure them in to like execute the whole family or family of creatures. We don't know, but I assume it's a family. But these creatures were like, they didn't attack anyone. No one was ever injured as far as the accountings that like I found. They would destroy things though. So they wouldn't take things, they wouldn't come in and like take food or take anything. But if they were upset, like they were upset because the loggers had come in, there was nothing like weird happening until the loggers came in and started taking down trees, which maybe they saw as it being like destructive of their home, because they live in this forest, they live like in nature, and you're taking down these huge trees where like essentially like 3 of these logs would like fit on one logging truck. And so you think like they're huge. And they had an emotional reaction, an angry reaction, but they would come in and just pummel things. Wade said that he had like an old Tonka truck. You remember like the dump trucks, like the yellow ones that are metal and they
Yeah.
yes, exactly, childlike. And that is actually how he described it, like a child throwing a fit. They would have a lot of emotional reactions. But he had accidentally left. Wade had left his Tonka truck outside overnight, and when he came out the next day, it was pummeled flat, completely flat, as if it had gotten run over. And that would happen all the time because these creatures would just destroy things. They would just show up randomly and destroy stuff because they weren't happy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So there was only one time where someone was able to take an actual shot at one of these creatures. It was about 2 months after the girls had left, they had put in like a pump house, and there was like conflict happening this entire 2 months. And obviously all the conflict that had happened before the girls left. The people that the father had hired to like build the pump house and drill and hit water were being harassed by the creatures as well. And Wade remembers going to town, and on their way back to the property from town, they were passing, or they almost passed, the company that was supposed to be like drilling this well and installing this pump house. And he's like, I didn't hear what was said, but I heard my father yelling, because they were trying to be like, we're done. Like, we can't finish the job. Like, we're out. Like, this is too much. This is too crazy. And the dad, obviously, like, he's already done this for 2 years. He's like, you guys can handle it. Like, just finish it. Like, and the next day they came out and they actually struck water that next day. Thank goodness, they got their well. But they had installed this well, and not long after it was installed, like, it had electricity. It has to have electricity. It had a light like hanging above it. It was like evening, not quite like totally dark outside, but like the sun was setting. They noticed the large creature, so what they assumed was like the father, the male, was standing underneath the light, and its shoulder reached like the light. So the light was sitting up above the door, and a standard door size, like about what, 7 feet? Yeah. And so the light will be sitting above that, and then the shoulder was level with the light that was hanging above the door. And the dad was PO'd. He was mad. He's like, these things cannot just seem to leave us alone. And so Wade recounts like his dad storming off, like tromping off to the gun safe, and he got his 30-06 out, which, if you know guns, you know that a 30-06 will like drop a bull elk like nothing, like that, and if you hit like an animal, if you're a hunter, you shoot an animal with something, if it does not pack enough of a punch, they will go for miles. They will run and they will flee for miles. But this type of gun will drop an animal. It'll drop an elk. But he got his 30-06 out, and he, like, the time that it took him, and see, I haven't been able to find anything. And actually, I had listened to a podcast where Wade was interviewed, and then the interviewer had like asked Wade if like there was physical evidence. If there was physical evidence, and Wade says, I wish there was, because like he was 10. He was 10. It was a long time ago when this happened. Like, he didn't think to like go and like save stuff. Like, he was just like, when it was time to go, he was like, peace, screw that place. He's like, I just have the accounts of like my family members and my cousin. I guess he had like an older cousin that was about 19 years old at the time, that they had moved in with the family, and recounts these same types of stories today, remembers these creatures today, and remembers them, from like an older perspective, because, Wade was 10, but his older cousin was, a young adult. And so, they kind of like line up their stories. And then also the people in this town kind of line up the stories. And apparently, so this one is interesting. This I found interesting because I've been like looking at maps and stuff of this area. He described that there is a power line path, how like there's no trees. When someone like they put in power lines and the power poles, like they clear out all the trees. He said that there's an area once you pass the cemetery on this road, like right after you pass it, like he described it, and I found it right away, like on Google Maps on my Onyx hunting app. And he said, you go up to this path, this road that goes up along these power lines, and you can find tracks almost immediately. Huge humanoid footprints on this road, even now, is what he says. So, I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt, like, unless you want to go and experience it yourself, take photos yourself, which I think would be awesome. I would love to check it out, But I don't know if I have a gun enough to save me. But so essentially, so the dad goes and gets his 30-06, and he was so frustrated and angry that he like didn't want to waste time running from one side of the house to the other side of the house, back to the other side of the house. He had like opened a window that like had like another window or something, and he like basically like shoved this gun through like the screen and like was like screw it, screw the window, screw the screen. And he actually shot this creature. He shot it in its left shoulder. And if you think about that caliber of gun, like it should have like the impact should have dropped it, should have knocked it over. It did not. And these creatures were described as extremely fast. And if you ever like shot an animal, you know that there's like a puff of dust that comes off the fur, that comes off of like the fur, and like also tufts of fur that come off. And he said that the 30 feet between the pump house and the tree line, the animal ran and cleared before the tuft of fur hit the ground.
Wow.
Like was gone, out of sight, 30 feet before the hair hit the ground, which is insanely fast. Haven't done the math on it, but maybe I should.
Fast.
That's very fast. That is very fast. For being so large, a 10-foot creature, like, I mean, yes, long legs, probably, but it's just, I mean, we can only comprehend what, like, we can see and what we can study, and when we can see this thing rarely or not even, you know, like it's not recorded physically anywhere on picture, on video, or maybe it is, but it's covered up. It's hard to kind of like quantify it, you know. But the creature did survive. There were 2 times that the male was sighted after this. Let's see. But what was interesting was that after that, after the large male had gotten hit, the creatures they continued to harass, but they started to watch from a distance. So there was like all the like the trees around like the homestead area were like cleared away, and the creatures would come out of the tree line, just barely out of the tree line, and essentially circle the property. And Wade describes there being like a 4-foot like path. Essentially, they had walked circles around this property so many times that the grass was worn away. It was dust because these creatures would just make loops around this property.
That's really scary. I mean,
yeah,
you don't know what they're after.
Right. You don't know what they're after, and
they have their living quarters somewhere around there, and they didn't want anybody there. I don't know, but you think if they had the opportunity to be really, really violent, they could have ripped them apart.
Yes,
and they didn't do that.
Right. They just stalked. Essentially, they watched, and they like would destroy things, but like they had no desire to like harm the people, which I thought was very, very interesting, because you do think of like there's other legends, you know, that say that there's like violent giants, violent Sasquatch, you know. Yeah, super creepy. Super creepy. And you know, might be worth a visit to just see if you can find a footprint, take a picture, but maybe be super sneaky about it so the government doesn't pick you up in a black van.
No, but is this community still having sightings today?
Apparently. So Wade said, like, Wade says that like he rides a motorcycle now, like he's a biker. But he had taken a trip through Oregon, and he stopped this town years and years later. Like he's middle-aged adult, and like had spoken to the people that now lived on the property, and they are constantly having encounters. And I guess like once he had told so he says it's 2 bachelors that now live on the property. He had told them his name, and they recognized his last name, and were like, oh, like you're like people that like caught the Sasquatches instead of just like leaving them alone. And they're essentially like infamous, but everyone in this area has some sort of encounter still. So
Fascinating.
yeah, it really, really is. And the family did eventually move away. Yeah. Yeah, he had said like it was like like they had visits from like like local government entities like police and like wildlife, fishery, whatever. But they also had like Department of Interior like come by and be like, you have to stop, you'll have to leave, the dad, being a Marine, like he was like he used some non appropriate language for a podcast. Told him to put something somewhere.
Salty. Yeah, I like that.
Yep. He had some tood.
Super interesting story. Thanks for bringing that to us, because that's kind of fascinating. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that they lived in an area where these creatures had their den.
Yes.
And it was too close for comfort, but they weren't.
Yeah.
You don't hear that often about in any Bigfoot sighting. You rarely hear of them being violent. They may chuck rocks.
Yeah.
Or bang on trees, throw stuff to like get away. It's kind of like a rattler rattling, right?
Yep.
But
And you have to wonder, like, if they were, because apparently the creatures, like, when it was cold, when it was wintertime, they would be nowhere. Like, there was a reprieve during winter. They would not come out in winter. So would they migrate or would they hibernate? They'd stay in their cave. I don't know. But I mean, if they're only around in the warmer months, you kind of have to assume there's a den or something somewhere.
Yeah. And they don't, from every sighting I've ever read about, they don't necessarily smell very good.
And see, that he actually did bring that up. So I have also heard that, like, people say that they smell like decay, like dead bodies, or like body odor, but like stale. And yeah, so I've heard that as well, and I've read that as well. But he specifically said that these creatures gave off no smell, nothing that they noticed, and they were in fairly close proximity, but there was no smell. So I thought that was very interesting and different. But usually if you hear of like family groups with like a Sasquatch, yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, hey, I'll join the family. I'll be the runt of the family if you can teleport me to Jamaica in the winter.
Heck yeah. Okay, guys, it's that time for the readings to start. So if you have a question, please pop it in the chat. Do I still sound terrible?
It's a little better.
I can't. I'm ready to dump this platform and find a new one. I'm not sure what to do. I'm going to buy yet another microphone. Question. Maybe there's a burial location.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. Yeah, and he does actually describe like what their facial features and stuff look like. Like, it's very interesting. I'll put in my Facebook comments and I'll go to YouTube and put it in the comments, like the interview. And you can and he does this interview. He's very, very detailed, and you can kind of hear about like how he describes like what they look like. It's very, very interesting.
What their characteristics are human-like in their facial features?
So human, for sure. So he said that the male like was so large. Oh yeah, it is that time. So I know I should quit talking, but they were like very, very humanoid, like essentially like, but bigger. The male could fit like 2 human-sized fists, man-sized fists, you'd assume, inside its mouth easily. Like, that's how big its mouth was. So.
Dang. Yeah, so David would like a reading, please. I think just a random David, because we don't have a specific question. Yeah, Sherry, I'm sorry I'm breaking up. You know what's interesting? If I go back to and watch the show afterwards, there's no static, there's no nothing. They keep telling us there's nothing wrong. And I'm like, there's something wrong. And Reddit, if you go to Reddit, about StreamYard. It's all over the place. Everybody has a problem with this platform. So, and Sherry would like a general reading. So, Susie, if you're taking David, Celeste, do you want to take Sherry?
Sure. I was just going to say maybe the humans in the trailer were their goldfish and they would come and look through the
Oh,
windows.
right. Like they'd watch and tap the
like their little
glass.
pets inside
And
of
then, and then Max, yes, there was only the one family unit that harassed his family. And it was 4 years that it was the total encounter. 4 family unit of these creatures.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's whack.
Susie, when you're ready, and then Celeste, are you gonna take Sherry?
Sure.
Okay.
So it just shows with David that you've kind of got a bit of a heavy energy around you. You feel kind of stuck, like you're not sure what to do about a certain situation. But it says that you already know the truth. You just need to listen to your intuition and take that leap of faith. When you do, you will find the love there and the purpose for you being here, what you need to work on. So stop overthinking it. Yep. Just do it.
Thank you, Susie. And Celeste?
There's a couple things that I'm picking up on. One of them is feeling like there's something from the past that has been revisiting your thinking or your dreams or feelings. And the thing about the past is it's done. It's carved in stone. We can't undo it, change it, fix it. All we can do is modify the present. And so actually tomorrow is May Day and Beltane, and it's the perfect day to get rid of things that it isn't that you can get rid of what happened per se, but you can get rid of how it's impacting either like I'm feeling like a thought that just keeps coming back in your mind, or a feeling, or a what if, or a woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of a situation. That's one part of it. The other part is I feel like you're kind of contemplating a potential change. And I'm not exactly sure what that change is, but I think that you need to just give it a little more time, do a little more research, and it will become much more clear if this is a good direction for you. But my feelings are when something comes up, when you ask about it, when you get it validated, then there is some good potential with that. But those are the two things that I'm coming up with.
Thank you, Celeste. And Susie, are you working on Lizette's?
I am.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. So, sorry, Lizette, it shows that coming towards you is something from your past, like a connection that you have with a soulmate. This is a really positive thing. I got like a really excited feeling from it, that it is something that's like being resurrected again. It's just really, really good. And make sure that you're using your intuition with it. Really discerning if you want that back in your life, but also it looks like it's a good thing, and it's coming back to like heal the situation.
Nice.
I wanted to throw a comment into Mad Max. It has been a crazy year. Have you ever, any of you guys ever been in the ocean and you get out just a little bit too far and the waves start hitting you in the face and you're trying to catch your breath and the next wave hits you in the face and you're trying to get your feet on the ground to get closer to shore and the next wave hits you right in the face? That's kind of how this year's been. For my family, it is beyond, it's almost laughable how crazy life has been. And it's huge things and it's small things. And it's just, I haven't been pummeled this bad in 20 years. So no, nobody's alone. Everyone keeps saying it's going to get better. I can see some of the things that are removing from my life. There's reasons behind it. And some of them, I can't see any reason.
Yeah. And I'm wondering too, remember we started off the year with solar storms, solar flares, real bad. Like some of the they've ever recorded since we've been recording them or had the technology to do so. And maybe that set it all in motion, just started this upheaval, topsy-turvy roller coaster ride we're all on right now. And now we have meteor showers, and it's just been like a pretty hectic up there.
Yeah, well, and the planets are lining up that they don't normally do in many, many, many years. And there's just all kinds of things. But I'm trying to be okay, David. Thank you for asking. It's a very complicated and difficult time.
Yeah, it's been a rough one. So I think we need to kidnap Celeste and take her on our drive Sunday and go do something. That's what I'm thinking. So yes. It's been kind of bonkers. So I do a shelter in place when it gets like this. I get home and I stay home, and I don't like to leave home, and I stay out in the barn. It's my church. Yeah.
With the goats and all the animals.
Yeah.
I just got the Queen of Pentacles on top for you, Celeste, and 9 of Cups on the bottom. You got this, girl.
For all of those.
She's got everything she needs. She doesn't need, the things that she's letting go of. It's all done. It's, Vinay over. And she's going to be able to fill her own cups. Be happy.
Yeah. No, I also had a friend that passed away last week, and our doggy is dying. So
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
You've been awfully quiet. Now I know why. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Just the going back and forth on whether you think the vets can help. And it's like,
Her dog, donkey or dog?
Dog. Our dog. Snoopy.
Your dog. Oh, yeah. Boy,
yeah.
That's rough, man.
Yeah, we think he probably has cancer. His hips were going out, and then just very quickly, his health, he hasn't eaten in 48 hours. He is still drinking. It has been awful. But Sarah and I talked, and we decided sometimes you choose quantity, sometimes you choose quality. And we both just didn't feel like there was a lot that a veterinarian could do at this point to help him. And prolonging things just to do tests and x-rays and blood work and all that kind of stuff probably wasn't the best option. So we're just
Did you decide to put him?
We're not putting him down at this point. He's still fairly comfortable. He hasn't eaten in 48 hours. He is drinking. He's incontinent. So we've got him wrapped with blankets and towels, but just kind of when he gives us the sign that he's done, we'll determine that. We thought he was going to pass last night, and he didn't. So I've Reiki'd the heck out of him. And my daughter, who sits on the fence with that a little bit, said, I don't know what you were doing when you were doing it, but keep doing it. So I have been just trying to keep him comfortable.
You were there for me when I was losing Big Z. Y'all were. So anything I can do.
Thank you.
So
just let us know.
A terrible, terrible decision to make. Because then you always second guess yourself. Did I do the right thing?
Well, that's what we've been doing all week about whether to try to take him to the vet. And we got a hold of Dr. Nan for her opinion. And she said, if it's something treatable, they can help him. But if it is cancer or it is, his body failing, kidney failure, whatever, there's not a lot that they can do. And we just decided we didn't. Thank you guys. We didn't want him to be poked and prodded and x-rayed and taken to a place that he's scared and uncomfortable with. So we're just keeping him as comfortable.
Dr. Mann will come out to the house.
Yeah.
So she's a phenomenal vet. She's one of our local vet here who will make house calls and that way you don't have to do a scary ride for them at the end, and she comes out and does normal backs and all that.
And she was just at our house about a month ago, not quite a month ago. One of his teeth got knocked out, and she's come out for Morty because Morty's petrified to get in a car. So when the time when the time is right. We're kind of just hoping he's going to go to sleep, but if it gets to the point that he's hurting, then we'll make different decisions.
Yeah.
That's tough. So, that's something to be mindful that no matter where you are and the troubles you're going through, everybody else is going through something too. I have to remind myself of that no matter what kind of shitstorm is raining down on us, we're moving through something, and to give each other a little bit of patience, and grace, because it's been a year.
It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years.
Well, I mean, it's been since COVID. Let's be honest here. It's been a solid 5.
Yeah.
So anything we can do for you, Celeste. And does anybody else out there want any questions? Anything cards read or So I'm happy to report that the very new donkey is now taking cookies to my hands, and I can walk up to him and I can pick up his front leg. He doesn't like it much, but he's getting there. So, and Trista would like a general reading.
Okay.
And she said, I always try to remind myself someone has it 10 times worse than I do, and just smile and keep going. And Trista, you're great for that, I have to tell you.
Yeah, that's it. My friend that passed, our kids all grew up together. We've known them 23 years, and he was here one second and gone the next, sitting on the sofa with his granddaughter. So yeah, it can be really bad. But what I'm feeling with you, Trista, is I'm feeling like you've kind of been going back and forth on some pretty major thoughts of changes. It is chaotic right now. And sometimes when we're trying to decide, am I better here or am I better moving somewhere different? And I'm not meaning necessarily literally physically moving, but I'm not meaning that, if that makes sense. But I think a little time, a little reflection, taking a break and not like the nonstop trying to figure it out, trying to decipher, can help settle some of the chaos, the noise, to where you can focus on the actual facts a little easier. But you're going to make the right decision. You're going to figure out the right way to go. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, things feel or seem different or look different than if we give things just a little bit of time to let it settle down.
And I'm going to add on to that with you, Celeste. That decision that I pulled on as well, I can feel that you've got a decision. It's going to change your life, but for the better. It actually shows more money coming towards you with that new decision that you make. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, quickly.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's always a good thing.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? I'm looking to see if we missed anybody.
So,
guys, don't be shy. Step up.
So I have a friend, and they're struggling with nightmares. So maybe can we get like an energy something for them?
Usually our dreams tend to fall in the realm of our subconscious trying to work through a situation, or it can be a trauma attempting to resurface. And I kind of feel that these nightmares might be coming from a place of trauma. Our dreams are not always exact of what the situation is, but they're symbolic, or they're like different people, but same circumstances, or same people, but different circumstances. And so maybe making a journal. Is it the exact same dream again and again, or is it a little different each time? And focus on those kind of things and write them down, and then go back and look on them and see if there's a common thread, or if as you read it while you're conscious, is it invoking some sort of memory, feeling, anxiety kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Especially with nightmares.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are
I was going to add on, sorry, that's what I picked up too as well, that it's actually her subconscious trying to force some change with some past trauma that she's got. It's like literally trying to get her to work through it.
To Mad Max's comment, dream catchers are amazing. Amethyst is amazing, but if it is some sort of a quote unquote shadow work that we need to heal, those aren't going to benefit you. It means it needs to come to the surface. It needs to be recognized or addressed or released or forgiven, those kind of things. But in general, dream catchers are amazing.
Okay, I will let her know. This is all solid. You guys are just always so on point.
Tammy's asking, what will I expect in the next few weeks? Yeah, Trista said, I wish I could remember my dreams. Journaling is amazing for dreams. And I'm with you. Sometimes I remember them, sometimes I don't. Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know.
She's so amazing. Yeah. You know, like when you connect with somebody, you know they're such an amazing person and they're struggling and you want to be there, but you can't be there in their dreams, obviously, but she's so amazing. She deserves peace.
And what about, Sherry's asking about green moss agate. Is that helpful for dreams?
I am not sure if it's helpful for dreams, but that's actually the stone in my daughter's engagement ring. And it's very symbolic of love and nature and abundance and peace. So I guess when you look at that, peace would be very helpful if you're having nightmares and stuff. And most of the time it's our intentions as much as it is any of the stones of what we're asking them to help us with. Did you get cards pulled on?
I did. I just checked with 2 different decks and I both come up with the 5 of swords. So there's a little bit of a warning in there that someone's going to be pulling some crap on you. Some kind of, yeah.
Is this for Tammy?
Be really careful with some choices there. It's going to be presented to you. Stuff you've been wanting for a long time, but they're going to try and trick you. Something kind of shady. So just be cautious.
She's asking, well, I have to pay off my car off. If you can get out of a loan, get out of it.
Yeah, that's my philosophy. If you have the opportunity to pay any debt off, get it paid off. But I was kind of feeling the same thing. I'm almost feeling like maybe there's somebody a little jealous or a little envious that might be trying to pull the ground a little less stable out from under you.
Somebody
that would have to do with the car, but
yeah, this person, you know, are we talking about the same person?
I was talking about Tammy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Somebody that she cares for is going to be sneaky, shady. So watch out.
Yeah, there's a saying, be careful who you talk to, because some people are listening to help you and some people are listening to hurt you.
David, meditation, time in nature, cleansing yourself.
Yeah, the smudging, salt, washing your hands with some olive oil and some salt, and just think, and especially tomorrow is Beltane or May Day. If there's anything physical that you can burn, whether it's just even things you normally burn, like wood or papers or something like that. But if you know that there's negativity, if you can have something that you are putting your energy in, that this represents whatever negativity is bothering me, and you can put the salt in it or black peppercorn and rub your hands on it and just say, I release any negative energy that is around me that's been sent to me, and throw it in the fire.
I felt that this morning, driving, trying to go to work this morning, and I just felt really like negative. And so I quickly put up protections around me and my family and my home and, you know, all my loved ones as fast as I could, because I was like, hey, if it's just a general just ickiness, we're just going to put walls up. We're not going to worry about the rest.
Yeah.
Leo, the fire sign, gives you 2 thumbs up on burn.
Burn.
Burn, baby, burn. You betcha. And I guess Mudlover's birthday's coming up here on Cinco de Mayo, so happy early birthday to Mudlover.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another
let's see.
Taurus like me. Woohoo!
Yeah, my grandfather, I think I've talked to Mudlover, was Cinco de Mayo too. He would have been 124.
Ooh,
I
think he's getting
Jess's
up there.
birthday is Cinco de Mayo, by the way. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
well, what was
Mine's
9
on
months
the
ago?
I know.
Oh,
I know.
happy birthday.
Okay, 9 months ago. He was aware, like, yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else that
August?
we're missing out here? We have a few minutes left. Don't be shy, guys.
August, September, yeah.
Yeah. It was my birthday. That's a great time to celebrate, right? It's August. Colleen is
September.
September.
So last
People are really loving Labor Day.
Yeah. I was born on Labor Day that year. Yeah. Oh, Mad Max said she's going to be 21 finally. Okay, Jason, should I continue with my plan to start my main part of my business that will be the moneymaker starting in May? Dang it, yeah. That's what I say. If you have a way to make a bunch of money, Jason, you need to do it. But let's hear from the experts.
Well, I have been an entrepreneur for this summer will be 30 or 31 years. And there is no better time than the present to jump in. If you have a good idea and you have the avenue to bring that into fruition, do it. I have had people throughout this whole time I've been an entrepreneur, get a real job. You need security, blah, blah, blah. When my first divorce, 2 little kids, get a real job. I took out a loan on my life insurance and I took out every penny I had in savings and I invested in my business and here I am. But the thing I want to share with you about having your own business is have some flexibility and be diversified. That is one of the things is look at different avenues that you can pull into that situation. So if one area isn't really hustling like you were hoping it would, you have other things or add-on things to go with that. I'm not sure what your business is, but usually no matter what you do, you can pull in from other directions as well. And if you have 5 options to make money, it's 5 times more likely you'll make money than just one option.
Yeah. He said, thanks, been planning this part for years, and this is the best time I feel. Absolutely. If your gut feeling is telling you this is the right time, then it's the right time. But boy, it can be hard to pull that trigger. Yeah.
And here's a really important thing to remember. We never fail until we quit trying. So even if things get hard, you just buckle down and try harder, or you think of other avenues to bring in there, or you come up with other ways to do it. But you can't fail if you don't quit.
Yeah. He said this is one of 3 other parts. Hi, Diana. Haven't seen you in the chat before. It's nice to see you. Do you have a question for our mediums? Just, yeah, can be very general. Like, how's next week going to go? Doesn't have to be super specific. But we are at an hour, so I am going to go ahead and let these ladies go. We'll maybe give it another couple of minutes and see if Diana would like to type in a question here. But yeah, otherwise I'll let these ladies go back to their lives for the night. And I noticed something with the audio tonight as we were in the middle of the show. There's a feature on StreamYard, and I think you guys have seen it, but if you go into your camera settings, it can touch up your appearance. And as soon as I did that, the static went crazy.
Huh.
Weird, huh? Yeah.
That's so weird.
Tammy said let's see, she said, when I feel I have a close friend, they always step away. Is there something wrong with me? No.
No, there's something wrong with that person.
Yes.
The universe has a way of pushing away the people that don't belong in our lives, whether they're taking advantage of you, whether they are not reciprocating whatever back to you that you're doing. We don't lose friends usually because of something we've done. However, you need to reflect on yourself and see if there are things that you can improve on, because sometimes situations repeat themselves to bring something to our attention.
Yeah. Diana did ask how her next month was going to go. I don't know if you caught that.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. How's my next month going to go? That'll be our last question for the evening. Thank you, Diana.
Did you get some cards pulled?
I did. It kind of shows that she's going to be concentrating on work quite a bit, but also to be cautious of people at her work, because there's somebody there that's kind of spies on her and is a bit of a backstabber. So it's just a little bit of a warning about just be cautious who you talk to at work. Don't tell people everything at work. They're there to be, employees just like you. They're not your friends. So keep that in your mind while you're there.
It's hard. Do you have anything else for her, Celeste?
No, but I completely agree. I have often told people, don't be one to water cooler. Don't sit and gossip at work, because most people that talk about other people talk about you. And when you share secrets or important things to you, and if you have someone like that in that circle, they're going to use it against you. Especially if there is a promotion coming up and only one person can get it.
I have seen so much of that in my work. Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. It's been a little over an hour, and we will, let's see, next week we will be on, and then next week, hopefully I'll know whether or not we'll be on the following week, because I will, if maybe, if we can get our travel at work finally authorized, I will be at a conference for a week. But I won't know until next week, because they don't tell you until almost like 2 days before you leave now, whether or not you can even leave. So, yeah, we will be here next week, though, for sure. And then I will hopefully know. So catch us next week, 7 o'clock. And please, like Diana, all new people come back. Start talking to us. Start asking those questions. We really enjoy it, and that's why we're here. I've given the contact information for Susie and Celeste in the chat. Make sure you write down their phone numbers. You can call them and get full readings from them. This is just a snippet, but you can do a full reading. And Susie, I had some feedback from somebody who said that they did get in contact with you from the show. I'm not sure how long ago, but they said it really made a difference in their life.
Really? Oh, good.
Just so you know. But I don't know the specifics. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thank you,
That's
Diana.
cool.
So she will be back. So
okay, awesome. Bring your friends.
Bring your friends. Make it a party.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you, and y'all have a good week, and we'll catch you tomorrow night. We're doing a live show with the Emergency Encounters crew, and it's all about weird customs and legends of the Vatican.
Oh,
we dug deep into some wild ones, too. Jess has one that'll blow you away that I've never heard about before. It's crazy, so we'll see you. All right, tomorrow at 7. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.